Hi, welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And today's episode is brought to you by Peanut. Peanut is a social network enabling parents and parents-to-be to meet, chat, and learn from each other. Today's episode is also brought to you by Fairhaven Health, Milky's Nipple Nurture Balm. Milky's Nipple Nurture Balm is your organic and lanolin-free answer to sore or cracked nipples. And we will hear more from our sponsors later, but right now I think we've got our review of the week.
We do, and it is from Lizzie Saves, who says, I wish I found this podcast before I had the baby. When I was pregnant, I knew I wanted to breastfeed my son, but I had no idea what that really meant or how much support I was going to need. My baby was tough to latch, lost 25% of his body weight the first week of life, and I was panicked and lost. A friend referred me to this podcast, and friend referred me to this podcast 6 months into my journey, and I credit my success to these two amazing women who have guided me and made me laugh along the way. I have literally messaged their IG account in a panic, and were responded with helpful, kind words. You two are angels on earth, and I tell everyone about this podcast. Thank you for making me feel normal, supported, and advocated for. Thank you for not
Thank
giving
you.
up. I know, it's so awesome.
That's amazing.
I love to know that, like, there's mamas out there who are really like, you know what, this is what I want. I'm not going to give up, even though I feel like I'm not doing well or I'm not supported, and I'm still going to keep going. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, I still remember
hard.
that with Jack, like, and how hard it was and how hard I was working. And after all of it, I was like, whoa.
I know.
I just like worked so hard. Like, what came over me?
I know.
Like, I never thought that I would have been able to like do that or get through something as tough as that. And I think this is what, it's a lot of what happens when you become a parent. You just, something comes over us.
Yeah, you do it. So thank you so much for the reviews. We love them. And they help us a ton. They help to, like, when you put the reviews on iTunes, it helps to kind of for our searches and helps people to find us better. So we really appreciate it. And if you don't listen,
it's a really helpful thing that you can do for us. It really helps. Thank you.
If you don't listen on iTunes and you still want to send us a message, you can send us a message through our website, which is badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, or you can, find us on social media, any of those things. So,
or email.
Yeah.
badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com.
There's so many ways to find us.
There are. Yeah. We're here.
So today, this actually, what we're going to talk about today, came off of a review and was requested for information on vitamin D supplementation and iron supplementation when you're breastfeeding. Honestly, like the vitamin D, I hear that one all the time, but I don't have too many people that have told me that they were required to give iron. I don't know if that's something that you hear much.
There's all of this like iron fortified stuff out there.
Yes.
Like here's this cereal, iron fortified cereal because your baby doesn't have any iron. I mean, I think it's just one, it's the marketing of it.
Yeah. It's
but it's like there's so much terrible information, and this is like a hot topic. People get really passionate about this. Yeah. About whether babies need iron and vitamin D or not.
So what should we do first? Iron? Should we do iron first?
Sure.
Okay. So the bottom line is anemia, which is, low iron, is uncommon in breastfed babies. There, of course, are some stipulations if your baby was early. So the way it happens is that the baby in the last trimester of pregnancy in the womb is taking all your iron. They're just like seeping it all in.
Along with all of
everything else. Yeah. So it is really like they are taking enough and they are holding enough iron stores in their body to last for at least the first 6 months of their life, which is another reason why they don't need solid foods before 6 months. Right.
Yep.
The the exception to this rule is preemie babies, because they weren't in for that full trimester, like that kind of a thing. They might be lower in iron, or babies that are very underweight. Maybe they're not absorbing it as well. But your healthy full-term baby does not need additional iron for the first 6 months of their lives, because they're taking it all out of you. You probably need more iron.
This is why you feel like crap.
Yeah.
Because they took everything out of you.
Took everything out of you. This is why we say continue to take your prenatal, not because it gives your breast milk nutrients, because it puts back into your body what your baby just took out. That's why. It has nothing to do with like, oh, you have to take vitamins while you're breastfeeding because that makes the breast milk more nutritious. No, that's crap. It's more about putting it back into you because the baby took everything. We know that. We know that they do.
Yeah, or with like me, like before we came on, I was saying like when I had my first, I had lost a whole bunch of blood. And they were giving me iron supplements for that. Not for the baby, for me.
Yeah, for you. And that's
because of the amount, yeah.
That's common too, where women will lose quite a bit of blood during, or, more than the average day.
Right.
We're not walking around dropping a liter of blood. So, a lot of women do find that they are anemic and very tired and, just really struggling because of that iron deficiency and that postpartum period. But your breast milk now, we know that babies absorb your breast milk really well, right? Like we know that. We know that the nutrients in your breast milk are very, very easily absorbed by the baby because they are made for the baby. It's natural. They absorb all those nutrients much, much better. That's one of the big bonuses with breastfeeding, that you don't have to continue to like increase volume and stuff like that, because everything they need is in there and they absorb it so easily. So the iron that they are getting in breast milk as well absorbs really easily for them, better than what they're getting from other sources. And the vitamin C and the lactose levels in the breast milk also aid in that iron absorption. So not only is their body just going, oh yeah, we can absorb this really well because we recognize this is ours. It's also everything else in their system too that is helping the body absorb the iron. So this is it's funny that you brought up like the different sources of where you can get iron for babies and everything. Because Kelly Mom, and we'll put this in our show notes, Kelly Mom has this little chart where they list how absorptive these other things are. So breast milk, the percentage of iron absorbed from breast milk is 50 to 70%. So your baby will absorb 50 to 70% of the iron in your breast milk. Iron fortified cow milk formula. Your baby will absorb 3 to 12% of that. So if they need, a higher percentage than that, you have to double or triple the amount of formula you're giving them, right?
Yeah.
3 to 12%. That's not much.
No.
Iron fortified soy formula. They're getting less. The percentage of iron absorbed is less than 1% to 7%.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah. Iron fortified cereals, 4 to 10%. So if somebody tells you your baby needs iron, it's after 6 months, you have to start with cereal, or you shouldn't be breastfeeding as much, your baby needs food that's got iron in it, they're going to get more iron from your breast milk than they're going to get from that iron fortified cereal. 4 to 10%.
And when they do start eating solids, you can give them whole foods.
Yeah.
You don't need to give them the processed box packaged stuff. You can give them whole foods that have iron in them.
Right.
That's how we all end up getting, our vitamins and nutrients from what we eat, right?
Absolutely. Cow's milk, less than 10%.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're going to get more iron from your breast milk than from other places.
Yeah. I think that we have to also be aware that so much of this, all of it, is marketing. Mm-hmm. These companies are in it to make money. So they're giving you this information that is wrong so that you will pay money for this product. They're not going to say, oh, our product actually, is not going to give you as much iron as your breast milk will, because they can't make money off your breast milk.
No, they cannot.
This is what capitalism does. People are allowed to pretty much say, I mean, there are some rules or some regulations, but companies can say a lot of things. Companies can say, well, this is iron, your baby needs iron at this time, and this is a way for them to get iron. But we have to also be aware that there are very high priced marketing teams that work for these companies that make you think this is what you need. Like, people do this to me all the time. They make me think that I need this like kind of shampoo for my hair, or make me think I need the latte from Starbucks. And I do, I'm like, oh God, I do need that.
Yeah.
But it's marketing. It's just, this is how it works.
Yes. And they're successful. They're very successful.
These are like multi-trillion-dollar companies.
Now, Callie Mom also tells us that the original recommendations for iron fortified foods were based on a formula-fed babies' need for them. And when they did that, doctors did not realize that the iron in breast milk is absorbed better. I mean, it's just...
Because they're not given that information. Lactation is not part of the... Yeah, this is not what medical professionals are learning in medical school. They're not learning about all of this stuff about lactation. They don't know.
Right. And it just... This is part of the education, this is part of knowing, and if somebody says to you, oh, well, you should be doing iron, you can request for them to do an iron test on your baby, like the hemoglobin. You can request that instead of just giving your baby all this extra stuff that they don't need. They might, if they don't need it, why give it to them?
Yeah. I mean, my pediatrician said that. I think Jack was like, I don't know, 9 months or something like that. And he was like, I usually do a blood test right about now just to see where everything is, like iron and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. And so he did it. It sucked. Because, they take the blood the way they do with a grown-up. Mm-hmm. But it takes only a second. And then, it was like, it's fine.
I mean, I don't know. And of course it's different for everybody. And if you have other medical things going on that might impact your iron levels and stuff like that. But I mean, if somebody says to you, oh, you're breastfeeding, well, you should be giving your baby extra iron. That's not true.
That's the thing. That's the thing. It's not the special medical circumstances that people say this about. They say it about breast milk.
Right.
Breast milk equals not enough iron. If you're breastfeeding, you're giving your baby breast milk. Therefore, they do not have enough iron. And that is not true.
No. The truth is, your baby has enough iron from birth to 6 months from you, and the breast milk that they're getting, they absorb that iron way, way better than they would from anything else anyway. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and people that are saying that don't know what is happening with the breastfeeding. They just are assuming, okay, your baby's not getting any iron.
Right. There's more of the stuff, more of the bad information that's being spread around.
No evidence behind that whatsoever. So should you be giving extra iron? I mean, if your baby was preemie, there's, probably a cause for it. That would be a whole separate conversation with your doctor. If there's a medical reason for you that your baby would need it. But otherwise, the majority of people, you should not need extra iron for your baby. It's just your baby's getting it through your breast milk. They're absorbing it better through your breast milk. Feel very confident that your breast milk is got what it needs for them and that you do not need the extra iron supplementation. You don't. Breast milk has whatever it needs. We don't need to find all these other things. And quite honestly, they're saying here too that if you go ahead and give it to them anyway, if you're well, it's not going to hurt them, let me give them some anyway, that has shown to cause stomach discomfort and things like that, or diarrhea for babies, because it's an overload. So
totally. There's all kinds of studies coming out now about overusing supplements and supplementing when it's not needed. and all of the negative effects from that. It's not just, oh, it can't hurt them. No, no, we shouldn't be giving things to our babies or ourselves that we don't need.
Right. Right. Just because we think it's harmless, because we need it, right? Or, oh, well, we all need iron, so.
Yeah, we all need
have
iron,
more.
so taking 10 times the amount that I need is like no big deal.
Don't do that.
No. So we should talk about vitamin D next, but let's do a little ad break.
Sure. And then vitamin D.
Today's episode is sponsored by Peanut. When I had my first child, I didn't know anyone else who had a baby. Breastfeeding was going horribly and I felt alone. I searched the internet for answers, but the information was totally conflicting. I didn't have anyone to ask about their experiences or watch what they were doing. When I found just a few like-minded moms, my experience totally changed. I felt empowered to parent the way that I felt right for me. This is why I want to share Peanut with all you badasses. Peanut is an app to meet like-minded moms in your area, chat, and share advice. It's free to download in the App Store, it's easy to use, and it could be your ticket to finding freedom as a new mom. Peanut is designed to connect people based on their similar interests, age, mutual friends, and more. Similar to a dating app, you simply swipe to send a wave. The community feature allows you to create and join groups such as single moms, LGBTQ, or Brooklyn moms. So head to your app store right now and download Peanut and start connecting with like-minded moms in your area. And today's episode is also brought to you by Fairhaven Health. If you're struggling with sore nipples, you need pain relief fast. And when sore nipples turn to cracked nipples, forget about it. It's enough to want to call it quits. Damaged nipples can cause real problems with successfully breastfeeding your baby. Check with a lactation consultant that your baby is getting a good latch. And then get some Milky's Nipple Nurture Balm. Milky's Nipple Nurture Balm is formulated to soothe, protect, and heal sore or cracked nipples. This nipple balm is made with organic herbal ingredients and combined with natural moisturizers to help provide relief and to heal affected areas and even prevent cracking from reappearing. Nurture Nipple Balm alleviates the discomfort so the joy can be restored to your special bonding time. It's safe for both parent and baby, and there is no need to wipe it off before breastfeeding. So head to fairhavenhealth.com, that's FAIRHAVEN health.com, and be sure to use promo code BADASS for 10% off of your purchase. And today's sponsors and all of their promo codes and their direct links can be found at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. Badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. You can also find our breastfeeding resources, all of our other episodes, and our show notes for this episode that will have links and more information about today's topic. And you will be able to find information about scheduling your very own lactation consultation with Dianne. And you can also head to the badassbreastfeeder.com and check out my clearance sale on my shirts. 30% off, no code needed. I want all these shirts out of here. My mom is a badass breastfeeder, shirts in different colors. Thebadassbreastfeeder.com. And that brings me to our special breastfeeding tip of the week, which is brought to us by a member of the Badass community. All of our breastfeeding tips come from the community on Facebook and Instagram. We post weekly asking for submissions. So check for that, and maybe we'll read your tip. Today's tip is brought to us by Rebecca Holloway Herbst. She says, wean when it's right for you and baby or toddler, not when others think you should. Milk never loses its nutritional benefits. Thank you, Rebecca, and I couldn't agree more.
Awesome tip of the week.
It is, yeah. Forget what other people are saying and all the information that they give you about why you should wean.
Yes.
The only reason you should wean is because you and your baby feel that it's time and it's right for you.
It's time. Right. Don't worry about anybody else.
True. So what do we do about vitamin D? Do we need it or what?
So this one is a little bit like...
I feel like this is where it gets really like heated.
Yeah, because people don't want to give their baby something extra if they don't have to a lot of the time. There's a lot of really bad information about vitamin D going around there. And this is something like, did they tell you to give your kids vitamin D when you had your kids? It was never mentioned to me ever.
No, I asked my pediatrician at one point and he was like, you don't need it. He's like, do you go outside? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that's fine. That's it.
I mean, if I was having a baby right now, honestly, like I would be so confused about the sun. You know, like, it's like, okay, can I go outside? Am I supposed to put sunscreen on my baby? You're not supposed to put sunscreen on a baby, but they need vitamin D. But how much vitamin D are they getting? But you're not supposed to have them in the sun for very long. So what are you supposed to do? Put a freaking suntan bed in your house.
What are you supposed to do? Yeah.
It's so confusing. So I don't even nobody ever mentioned it to me when I had my kids. I've been a vegetarian since before my first one was born. And I was a really strict eater before too. I'm sure I was deficient in all sorts of stuff. Nobody ever said take a vitamin. Nothing. Like nobody ever told me to do anything special for my breast milk or for my kids because it wasn't necessary. But now we have Google. So everybody just says, oh, I'm a vegetarian. What should I do about breast milk? And you'll read all this, special stuff that you should be doing, which is probably not the case, by the way. But vitamin D, now they're saying that this is a big deal because we're all deficient in vitamin D. So
that's the thing now is that everyone is deficient.
That's what it comes down to. And this, of course, I'm speaking from what I know from my environment, but other parts of the world. And I think we've had people that kind of, I know that I've heard from other people before that lived in other parts of the world that had different recommendations for vitamin D.
Yeah.
Which is, obvious, of course, because the sun is different in different parts of the world. You might have more sun. Summer might be longer. You might not have seasons, whatever the case may be. But even in, the United States, like where I live, the sun doesn't come out for a couple months out of the year, practically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in other parts of our country, the sun's out all the time.
It's out all the time. Yeah.
So
and you're out in it all the time.
Right. And
because it's warm.
So a lot of it really depends on, what place you're in. But the thing that I really want people to know about vitamin D is that it has nothing to do with deficiency of your breast milk. And people say this all the time. Like I've heard, a lot of people say this, well, you need vitamin D because your breast milk is deficient. Your breast milk is not deficient. We are all deficient. We are all deficient in vitamin D, and women are not told to take enough. Women don't take enough. And therefore, you can't pass it through because you don't even have enough for you. That's what it is. It's not the milk is deficient. It's your body is deficient in vitamin D. So there was studies that have been done not that long ago, just a few years ago. They did a really big study about this over 2 states. One of them actually was done in my hometown, because we have this huge hospital system here that does tons of research. And then the other one was, I believe, in South Carolina, which is appropriate because it's warmer there. But they found that if mom takes 6,400 IUs a day of vitamin D, that is enough for both her and baby. So if you do not want to supplement your baby with vitamin D, recent research shows that you can supplement yourself with a higher dose of vitamin D, and then you don't have to supplement your baby. But there are still a lot of pediatricians that don't agree with this, or don't maybe know that this research has been done, and will tell you, no, you have to give it to the baby. You have to give them 400 IUs every day of vitamin D.
Yeah, I feel like there's not enough real solid research for us to know exactly, because it's so conflicting.
It is really conflicting
from the top down.
Yeah. And and people say, oh, well, what will happen if I don't give it to my baby? I mean, it's helpful for their skeleton, their bones, their immune system, infection, we know vitamin D is really important. Sometimes it's one of those things. I feel like vitamin D, parents are like, yeah, I forgot to give it, or they give it, they'll give it the first few weeks and then forget about it, or they'll just take the baby outside. Like, it's just one of those things that you don't get a lot of really good answers about. They just kind of say, give this, and then that's it. Now, the other thing I do want to say about the vitamin D is if you give it to your baby, which is totally fine if that's what you choose to do, look at the ones that you're giving to your baby. So there's a bunch of different kinds out there. They're just a supplement, just a vitamin D drop supplement. And they're made by lots of different companies, and there's lots of different choices out there. Just take a look at what you're giving your baby, because there's some out there where it's like got fillers and color and glycerin and sugar with it and all sorts of stuff, and you're giving them an entire syringe full of that. Or there's some that are just one drop and all it is vitamin D and there's nothing else attached to it. So just kind of like take a look and make sure you're giving your baby something that is just the vitamin D, because your baby doesn't need all that extra gunk mixed in with that vitamin D to make it better for them to swallow. You can get sun exposure. This is also hard for, we said, if you live in different parts of the world, it's different. If your skin color is different, if you have darker skin color, then you're going to absorb vitamin D a little bit less from the sun. So that's another thing to kind of think about too, is like, where do you fall into that range? If we just took vitamin D, or if it was, I don't even know if it's checked during pregnancy, to be quite honest with you.
I don't know. I don't think it was checked for me during pregnancy. It was definitely checked afterwards. And after I had Exley, I had mine checked, and it was low. And she told me to take more, so I took more.
That's all. I take it. Do you take it now?
I take it now. I do. I live in Chicago. Winter is like 9 months here. Yeah. We don't go outside a lot in the winter. And I take vitamin D, and I give my kids vitamin D, especially in the winter. I did not give it to them before 6 months. I didn't want them to have anything in their stomach before 6 months except for breast milk.
Yeah. I am supposed to take it, but sometimes I forget. Sometimes I'm good about it, and sometimes I forget. I love the sun. So like during the summer, I get a lot of sun, and I know that does hold me a little bit, but there have been times where I have asked for it to be tested and it was like super low. Yeah. So I think and I'm in upstate New York where it's gray all the time. Right. So yeah, it's gray right now. Looking out my window, it's ugly and gray.
And when it's sunny in the winter, it's 20 degrees outside and I'm still not going outside.
Right. I'm not getting any sun like that.
And you're not going to get any sun because you're going to be completely covered. Right. Exactly. You have a hat on and like a scarf up to your eyeballs, and you're not going to absorb any vitamin D.
I know, no way. But if you are really unsure about it, then talk to your doctor about it and say, okay, should I be taking more? Have yourself tested to find out if you are deficient or not, because maybe you don't even know. But I've had a lot of people that said, oh, I was feeling like this. I was feeling tired. I was feeling, cloudy headed. I was just like, so not myself. And then their vitamin D was super low. So it really makes a difference to have it where it needs to be. If you really don't want to give it to your baby, then make sure that you are supplementing your diet with enough vitamin D, and educate your doctors and the people around you. If they're telling you, this, that you need to have it or your baby needs to have it, let them know about this, about the research. Mm-hmm. And it even says, and we'll post this in the show notes too, because there's some great info here, but it even says, if you're talking to somebody that refuses to accept the fact that new research has been done about this, then maybe move on, because,
well, that applies to pretty much everything. If somebody's not listening to you, well, they don't need to be working for you anymore.
Right. Exactly. So
Thanks,
it
Diane.
really, yeah. So it's kind of cool, you know, like it's one of those things. It has nothing to do with your breast milk. You are not deficient. Your breast milk is not deficient. It's just that we're all probably lower than what we need to be.
Yeah.
So it's does not hurt.
And just get your levels checked. If you're questioning, get your levels checked. I mean,
yeah, get your levels checked.
That's the only way to know.
And find out what the levels are in where you are. You know, like, because like I said, here they want babies to have it. Maybe in other countries it's different, you know. So
yeah,
where you are, get the info you need for you. But just
either way, don't panic.
Right. And it's not the end of the world if you didn't give it. Sometimes people are, well, if I didn't give it to my baby, like, is this, you know, are they going to
have lifetime effect? No,
it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Everything will be okay.
Mm-hmm. Everything is fine. Yeah, and that's it. That's my...
Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.